This is Good Morning Indiana, working for you.
And the time right now is 4:27 here on a Friday the 13th. Ooh, yes, and we want to thank you for joining us for Good Morning Indiana and starting your day with us. I'm Lauren Casey.
And I'm Meredith Barrick. We want to start this Friday off with some good news. This is a story we have been following all week long. A family in Shelby County who returned home from a trip to find their roof completely gone, all the shingles torn off. Well, because of our story, a company reached out to that family and said, we want to repair your roof for you.
Yeah, a really bizarre story. The whole thing is pretty crazy, but thankfully it has a good ending, and you can see the crews there working to put a roof back over this family's home. So we're going to bring you that story from out in Shelby County from Rafael Sanchez.
Yeah, and here's the thing. The company that originally removed these shingles still has not come forward. So hopefully that happens in the near future as well.
Really bizarre. So we do want to take a turn right now to our forecast. It is Friday. We have high school football games tonight. Todd, it's been so hot out there this week. What can fans expect?
You know, the cold front comes through this afternoon, so it's going to be a lot more comfortable this evening for high school football. But before that happens, we have to go through a round of showers and a few thunderstorms, probably midday onward. This morning, your commute's just fine. It's warm. It's muggy. Temperatures are in the 60s and 70s right now. 75 in Indy, 66 in Zionsville, 68 in Logansport. We should climb into the upper 80s once again before that band of showers and storms arrive. So it's another hot day for us. It's another humid day for us. But if you do have evening plans on this Friday, everything looks to be nice. The humidity will be falling and temperatures will be falling back down into the 70s at that point. As far as those storms, a couple of them could be on the strong side, but we're not expecting any widespread severe weather.
Okay, good to know, Todd. Thank you very much.
All right, in our Hiring Hoosiers Classroom to Career, we're taking you all the way out to Henry County, Newcastle, to see how students are learning to get into the welding industry. Now, there are a number of jobs for welders in a number of industries, and these students are not only learning how to weld, but they're learning about reading blueprints, machining, so a number of things, and they're doing this all before they get into the workforce.
Yeah, so we are really excited to learn more about this program. Our Aaron Lish will be live in Newcastle this morning with all those details. And finally, it is Friday. That means Friday Football Frenzy is back, and this morning we are live in Knightstown.
Yes, and we love Knightstown. They are so fired up for the Panthers, so we're going to be checking in there. It's a home of our own Shea Goodpaster, so we always love to go out to Knightstown. We'll have a live look at the students out there getting us fired up for Friday Football Frenzy, talk about who they'll be playing tonight and what the outlook is for that game. So we'll have more on that coming up, as well as news, weather, and traffic to start your Friday.
This is Good Morning Indiana, working for you.
A facility taking care of those who can't take care of themselves could soon close. This morning, who the facility serves and how you can help them out.
Plus, state environmentalists say they don't know what caused an oil spill in the White River here in Indianapolis. Working for you, Call 6 Investigates is uncovering some important details about where that oil came from. But first, here at 4:30, we want to welcome you into Good Morning Indiana. I'm Lauren Casey.
And I'm Meredith Barrick. Meteorologist Todd Clausen here. All right, is our Friday the 13th forecast scary, or are we going to be okay?
You know, there's a few storms in it later on this afternoon. I wouldn't call it scary. The full moon was beautiful, though, on my way in.
Right, so bright outside.
Check it out. Yeah. It is very bright, and if you caught it yesterday when the moon was rising, it was even more spectacular. All right, 75 degrees right now outside. It is still warm. It's still muggy. That is not going to change for your morning commute. These temperatures are going to hold pretty steady for you from start to finish throughout the morning drive. 73 in Bloomington right now, 72 in Muncie, 70 in Tipton, 74 is the current temperature in Lafayette. So we start off with sunshine. We're dry. Temperatures quickly warm, but there is a cold front that is just off to our west. All the real strong storms will stay to our north, but as this front comes through later on this afternoon, there will be a period most likely that we have to deal with some showers and also a few thunderstorms in the forecast. So 85 by the noon hour, up to 88 degrees. We'll bring some storms in by 2 p.m. By 4 p.m., they're shifting off to the eastern side of the state. And then once that front goes through, the humidity comes down, temperatures come down, making for a nice evening. We'll talk about that evening forecast, and we'll time these storms out for you in greater detail in just a few minutes. But at 4:31, let's get you updated on the roadways on this Friday morning. Here's Lauren.
All right, Todd, we do have an incident right here we need to show you from our INDOT traffic camera on the northeast side, I-465 near Binford Boulevard. You can see the flashing lights there on your screen. What happened here was was a backhoe hit this overpass here on southbound I-465. Now, the area that impacted was 75th Street between Binford Boulevard and Shadeland Avenue. 75th Street there is closed as they are working to clear this crash and see the damage that was done here. So we'll continue to keep you updated on that issue on the northeast side. Traffic on the interstate is still getting by and on the ramps there, as you can see. So we'll continue to keep you updated on that. Let's take a look right now at I-74 and Ronald Reagan Parkway. You can see traffic in this area over on the west side is moving along just fine this morning. We'll continue to keep a close eye out for any crashes or delays and keep you updated throughout your Friday. Well, time is running out for an Indianapolis facility that provides safe and nurturing space to those who can't take care of themselves.
As RTV6's Cameron Riddle explains, a sudden funding shortage has put the future of Joy's House Adult Day and Caregiving Center in jeopardy.
For the past 20 years, Joy's House has been a home away from home for folks who need a little bit of special attention. But now, thanks to financial issues, the doors that have served thousands of people over the years could soon be closed for good.
There's something really special about this industry, about working with older adults and appreciating them for who they are.
For 20 years, Tina McIntosh and her staff at Joy's House in Broad Ripple have spent every weekday caring for adults who are no longer able to stay at home alone safely due to aging or a variety of health issues. It's a comfortable place where just today, 40 adults were taken care of while their families were at work or school.
For the guests, sometimes we're the only reason that they get up and get out of bed, get themselves together and out into the world.
The Adult Day and Caregiver Service offers its guests an active day, stimulating their minds and exercising their muscles. But all that care comes at a cost, and that price tag is getting too high following a decrease in donations and just recently new cuts to Medicaid.
In anticipation for that and with the changing funding climate, we're in trouble.
Without an increase in funding, the nonprofit operation could be closed by the end of next year. And while the future doesn't look so bright right now, McIntosh and the staff at Joy's House are not giving up. They are fighting and fundraising and looking for any opportunity to continue to serve the people who need them most.
But some of these people come every day. Miss Julie is a great example. She's been coming to Joy's House for 11 years. She comes 4 days a week. If you do the math, it's something like 2,300 days of service. So, you could look at her as a client. We look at her as a guest in our home, and she's family.
Working for you in Indianapolis, Cameron Riddle, RTV6.
AARP ranks Indiana last in the country when it comes to caring for older adults, people with physical disabilities, and family caregivers. That's because of Indiana's low level of affordability and access to long-term health care services like Joy's House. You can learn more about Joy's House fundraising efforts by visiting this story in the RTV6 app.
Time right now is 4:35. An organization feeding hundreds of thousands of hungry Hoosiers every year is laying out its plan for the future. Gleaners Food Bank says it wants to increase the amount it shares with Hoosier families by 2.5% by the year 2023. At the same time, Gleaners wants to make sure that 80% of the food is healthy. That includes fresh fruits, veggies, lean protein items to make meals.
With the unveiling of Gleaners' new strategic plan today, our city moves closer to a day when no child, no veteran, no man or woman has to navigate their daily life hungry or malnourished.
In honor of Hunger Action Month, Corteva AgriScience also pledged $90,000 to buy more than 1 million pounds of fresh produce for hungry families.
There is already one confirmed vaping-related death in Indiana as there are growing concerns about the safety of e-cigarettes. And this morning we are learning just how many teens are vaping. Riley Hospital for Children and IU Health says almost 1 out of every 3 high school students has vaped in the last 30 days. Doctors at Riley say they've seen an increase in vaping-related illnesses in the last few months. If you vape or know someone who does, these are the symptoms of potential problems you need to watch out for.
It acts a lot like a flu-like illness. It starts off with some chest pain, cough, some shortness of breath, maybe some just overall fatigue, muscle aches, just feeling overall crummy, not necessarily fever though. We have had children who have had other organ systems involved, not just their lungs. We've had children who it's affected their liver and their kidneys as well. That seems to be less common.
Riley Hospital for Children says traditional cigarettes impact your lungs differently than vaping or e-cigarettes, but they say it's too early to tell if traditional cigarettes or vaping is worse for you.
At 4:37, students at a northern Indiana school are mourning the loss of a classmate after he drowned following football practice. 14-year-old Curtis Walton was a football player at Calumet New Tech High School in Gary. After practice on Wednesday, the coaches let the players go into the pool to cool off. At some point, though, Walton collapsed and went down to the bottom of the pool. His teammates and coaches pulled him out of the water and then tried to restart the teen's heart.
Our coaches became the first responders, immediately doing what they needed to do to revive the student. Losing a student is just at the top of my list of one of the worst things that could possibly happen.
Walton died at the hospital on Thursday. Right now, officials say it's too early to tell what underlying health problems the player may have had.
This morning, concerns over fines accrued by the Floyd County Auditor's Office are boiling over. A state report shows more than $20,000 in unpaid fines and interest had built up in the auditor's office before the county stepped in. Council member Dale Bagshaw says the county paid the fines with the understanding that Auditor Scott Clark would pay them back, which hasn't happened. With little communication from Clark, many in the county are concerned.
I mentioned in the meeting last night, if it was any other county employee, he'd be fired. But we can't do that. All we can do is, so therefore, I'm the one that brought forward the motion to a vote of no confidence.
Bagshaw says the other staff in the auditor's office have been the ones working with the county to try and correct these issues. The state's audit has been forwarded to the Indiana Attorney General's office. Attempts to contact Floyd County Auditor Scott Clark were unsuccessful.
The state says it still doesn't know what caused an oil spill into the White River earlier this month. Call 6 Investigates has been digging for answers ever since. The oil spill happened September 3rd near Bluff Road and West Southeastern Avenue. The Indiana Department of Environmental Management says it doesn't know how big the discharge was. The state did not notify the public until after RTV6 started asking questions 2 days after the oil made its way into the water. White River advocates are demanding answers and action, and for the polluters to be identified and held accountable.
The race for the Democratic presidential nomination is heating up. After the break, we're taking a look back at the heated moments from last night's debate.
Plus, an Indiana company is growing. After the break, how many new jobs Allen's new facility will bring to the Circle City. Todd.
And a cold front is off to our west, and this front is going to make its way into central Indiana as we go throughout the course of the afternoon hours, and with it, the chance of showers and storms. We'll talk all about the timeline and the threats for you coming up in your Storm Team 6 forecast. The time now is 4:39. You're watching Good Morning Indiana right here on RTV6.
TV6, sponsored by Citizens Energy Group.
Welcome back to Good Morning Indiana. We are monitoring that breaking news we mentioned to you earlier. Our Eldon Wheeler is at the scene here of where a bridge on I-465 near 75th Street on the northeast side of town struck this overpass. You can see crews are at the scene working. They're still working at this hour. This is impacting some traffic on southbound I-465 on the northeast side, as well as 75th Street. That's the area over here, over this area of the interstate that is impacted between Binford and Shadeland. You'll need to avoid that because it's closed at this hour as they inspect the repairs that need to be done in this area. So we'll continue to follow this and bring you updates as soon as we get them.
The National Hurricane Center says a new tropical threat is developing in the Caribbean. Tropical storm force winds could be felt later today in portions of the northwest Bahamas, still trying to recoup from Hurricane Dorian. Tropical storm warnings have been issued for the not yet named storm. Actress Felicity Huffman is expected to learn her sentence in a Boston federal courtroom today after pleading guilty to one count of mail fraud. Her plea comes as part of the college admissions bribery scandal. Huffman admitted to paying $15,000 to a fake charity that facilitated cheating for her daughter's SATs.
The third debate has now wrapped up. Ideological differences on full display last night. As ABC's Serena Marshall reports, all the top 10 candidates on the Democratic Party together, kicking off their race for the White House into high gear.
10 candidates, one goal.
And as president of the United States.
As president of the United States.
And while the party wanted to keep the focus on the man currently donning that title, the debate quickly showcasing the stark differences in the Democratic Party. One of their biggest disagreements, health care.
I've actually never met anybody who likes their health insurance company.
I, who wrote the damn bill, if I may say so, intend to eliminate all out-of-pocket expenses.
Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders continued their push for Medicare for All. Former Vice President Joe Biden arguing, though, it's just too expensive. For more than 30 minutes, the topic dominated and brought some of the toughest attacks, like this one from 44-year-old Leon Castro.
They do not have to buy in.
You just said that. You just said that 2 minutes ago.
And if she qualifies for Medicaid,
are you forgetting what you said 2 minutes ago?
Be in for it.
An apparent attack on the 76-year-old Biden's age, but it was Castro who got it wrong.
Anyone who can't afford it gets automatically enrolled in the Medicare type option we have.
Another top issue, guns.
Hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15, your AK-47.
Well, do you think Trump is responsible for what happened? And I said, well, look, I mean, obviously he didn't pull the trigger, but he's certainly been tweeting out the ammunition.
But at the end of the night, the candidates all taking aim at the president.
He reminds me of that guy in The Wizard of Oz, you know, when you pull back the curtain, it's a really small dude.
In response to the debate, the Trump campaign said the candidates offered nothing new and that President Trump would, quote, dominate them all. Serena Marshall, ABC News in Houston, Texas.
It's not your typical protest and definitely not your typical arrest. Take a look at two deputies in Houston rappelling down the side of a bridge. More than 20 Greenpeace USA protesters formed a blockade over the bridge ahead of yesterday's Democratic debate. 11 people were hanging from the bridge and the rest up top acting as spotters. Their goal was to block the oil export channel, protesting the fossil fuel industry. The Coast Guard said a little more than half a mile of the shipping channel was closed due to the protest.
The dive boat Conception is back on ground this morning, 10 days after the boat burned and sank, killing 34 people. All of the victims have been identified. The NTSB says that all 6 crew members on board were asleep when the incident happened, and the boat did not have an overnight watch. 5 crew members who survived the fire told investigators that they made multiple attempts to save the people trapped below the deck. The cause of the fire has not yet been determined. Here at 4:47, it's Friday, and we want to check in with Todd and today's forecast.
And all is quiet here this morning. That changes a little bit as we get into the afternoon hours. No visibility issues this morning as we have not broken out into that patchy fog. 75 degrees, that is the current temperature. Winds are out of the south, but it is still super muggy out there with the humidity way up this morning. And we'll deal with humidity throughout the day today, but by tomorrow, it's a new air mass that's in place, and that is going to be a great news for us. 73 in Bloomington right now, 70 in Tipton up into the Peru area, and 72 over in Muncie. So some of you yesterday, especially here in northern locations, got into some pretty good storms during the afternoon hours. Indianapolis southward, we were completely dry and we're clear here this morning, but you don't have to go too far away to find some real strong storms that stretch now from Chicago through Milwaukee across Lake Michigan into the Grand Rapids area. So that heavy rainfall will miss us, but the front is off to our west, and this front will come through later on this afternoon, and that is going to give us the opportunity for a few storms to roll through. Now, we're not expecting any widespread severe weather, but it's not out of question. 1 or 2 of these storms could be on the strong to severe side. And already by the noon hour, there's the possibility of a couple storms here in northern locations. And then as the actual front slides through the area, that's when we're going to develop more of a line of storms that are going to make their way from west to east. Now, here's the good news. Once the storms move through your neighborhood, you're done with them for the day. So western communities, you see the storms pretty early in the afternoon. Eastern communities, you probably hang on to them into the dinner hour, 6, 7 o'clock this evening, and then they'll push off towards the east. So once those storms go through, you're in great shape. As far as the severe threat from Peru to Indianapolis over towards Richmond, we are under the marginal risk for severe weather. So it's not a slam dunk. The main threat would be damaging wind with some of these storms as they start to develop. So this morning we are dry, we warm quick, just like the past few days. 85 degrees already by the noon hour. And then I would say anytime from about 2 o'clock in western communities and suburbs, and then eventually throughout the evening hours to the east, there will be the threat of those isolated storms making their way into the area. For high school football, again, there could be a storm or 2 off towards the east. Otherwise, we'll look for partly cloudy skies. The humidity, though, will be decreasing throughout the course of the day, and that is the big change heading into the weekend. Saturday and Sunday, we feature mostly sunny skies both days. It's a little cooler Saturday, but still above normal. But the humidity being way down, that is the big difference. And then Sunday, 87 degrees with lots of sunshine. But the heat, that stays with us really throughout much of next week. We will be running well above normal with high temperatures. That'll be in the mid to upper 80s and lots of sunshine. After today's storm chance, it looks pretty quiet until at least next Thursday. Lauren?
All right, Todd, thanks. I want to bring you back to this traffic issue we're monitoring on the northeast side right now. You can see crews with the flashlights inspecting this bridge here. This is 75th Street on the northeast side of town over I-465, the southbound lanes. Now, what we're learning from the scene and our crew there and also our traffic system is that a truck went through this area in the southbound lanes, hit this overpass, caused some damage, and then left debris. The driver fled the scene, and so crews are there right now inspecting this and working to clear this. We do know that 75th Street, the area over this, is blocked right now as they're looking to make sure that it's safe. That's closed between Binford and Shadeland, so avoid 75th Street for your morning drive. Southbound I-465 still moving at this hour, so let's take a live look at our NDOT traffic camera. You can kind of see the flashing lights there in the distance where crews are working, not blocking too many lanes of traffic, and so things are still moving along here just fine on the northeast side interstate. This is something we'll continue to monitor. We'll bring you any updates just as soon as we get them.
Hiring Hoosiers is RTV6's mission to connect you to job opportunities. One company is tripling its size here in Indianapolis, leading to a 25% increase in employment. On Thursday, Alum cut the ribbon on its new 160,000 square foot facility on Waldemar Avenue in Indianapolis. That's on the west side near I-465 and Washington Street. Alum serves Fortune 500 companies around the world. They do everything from build websites to shipping products for whatever company they're working with. A new event is coming to Indianapolis, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, that is, in 2020. Straight ahead, what makes the new race different from others currently held at IMS.
And RTV6 was the first to tell you how a Shelby County family came home to find parts of their roof missing. Coming up, though, at 5 o'clock, how our community has come together to help this family out. But first...
I'm Vinny Politan. Coming up today on Court TV, the dramatic conclusion of the cheerleader baby murder trial. Yesterday, a dramatic not guilty verdict on the top charges, but there was one guilty verdict. And Skylar Richardson, the defendant, will be sentenced in court. You will see it and hear it live today on Court TV.
Vinny, thanks. Don't forget you can watch Court TV live from wherever you are right now at CourtTV.com. Time right now is 4:52. We'll be right back after this short break.
Fall for you at JCPenney.
Motorcycle racing will return to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway after a 5-year absence. IMS says Moto America will race at the Brickyard next August from the 21st through the 23rd. MotoGP previously raced at the track. Their last event here was in August of 2015. The new race will be called the Championship of Indy. Indianapolis Motor Speedway says ticket information will be available soon at IMS.com.
Video of a military sled tested on a high-speed track moves so fast if you blink you're gonna miss it. Take a look at this if you can. It's a video of the Air Force test of a hypersonic sled at nearly 6,600 miles per hour or Mach 8.6. The video was shot at an Air Force base in New Mexico. The track is the longest of its kind in the world. Air Force officials say the test object was covering approximately 1 mile every second.
Wow.
Crazy. All right, we do want to bring in Todd, though, and talk about our forecast for today as we speed right into the weekend.
Yeah, you know, and things improve over the course of the weekend in the sense that the humidity comes down and the temperatures come down just a little bit as well. So it's still warm, it's still muggy here through the first half of the day, and then around the storms will come through during the afternoon. They should move through pretty quickly, though, so it's probably only going to inconvenience you for maybe 15 to 30 minutes tops, and then it'll be on its way off to the east. And by Saturday, mostly sunny skies, lower humidity, 82 degrees, still fairly low humidity on Sunday, but warmer again at 87. And then the heat and humidity returns for much of next week with plenty of sunshine. The time now, 4:57. Stay with us. We'll be right back.